Carl and Liam here from Games, Brains and Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for short, and it's tier list time. And of course, it is time to rank all the episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark Season 2. They have been covered in full over on this channel. Just check them out for the individual reviews. And now, similar to Season 1, we now take the episodes from Season 2, put them in our tier list, with the goal being the best, whatever goes in the best, eventually from each season's rankings goes in a one big tier list at the end where we will hopefully, similar to Goosebumps, end up with the best episode in our opinion. So yeah, we've got 13 episodes to rank here in the best, good, okay, meh, or the worst. And we begin with episode number 1, The Tale of the Final Wish. You know how this goes. A girl who lives in a magical dream world of fairy tales and all that ends up invoking the anger of the Sandman, who's played by, can't remember the actor's name, but you know him best from Police Academy for the weird noises he makes. Bobcat Goldthwait. Bobcat Goldthwait.
How
He
could
is
you
the
forget?
Sandman. Yes, how could you forget that name? He is the Sandman, and he has given her what she wishes for, which is basically no family to live in a dream world. She obviously doesn't want that in the end, so it becomes a battle of wills through some magical designs, set designs, and things like that, which did stand out. But as an opener, I remember us being mostly underwhelmed by this as an opener because it has a very magical vibe, not much in the way of like creep factor. This was a bit
Hmm.
of a meh opening for me personally.
Yeah, I don't remember us speaking too glowingly about it, other than the fact that I did enjoy Bobcat's performance. He brings his signature style, what you'd expect, but
Energy.
yeah, the energy's there. He has the eccentricity going on, which I think suits the character he's playing. And yeah, it has sort of a surreal vibe with the whole dream world and stuff that I remember quite enjoying. But other than that, it wasn't particularly good, if I recall. So
Does
where
that
would we
mean it
place
gets okay though?
it? I think putting it in okay is okay with me.
Yeah, let's put it in the middle as a starting point because there are worse.
Yes.
Okay. The Tale of the Midnight Madness. This, of course, is the theatre-based episode, utilizing some classic horror tropes to tell a weird timing as well around a Nosferatu-style story. Um, this is the opposite of Final Wish because this is horror. This is telling a classic horror story and doing a really clever thing, not just setting it within a theatre, which is always fun for a fan of things like demons and all that, but also creating its own inside film that it utilizes from a black and white perspective and plays around with the idea of moving through film and stuff like that. It's got blood in it. You actually see blood on someone's neck from a vampire bite. The vampire itself looks great. Little Salem's Lot like, but that's cool as fuck as well, nonetheless. It's got a good resolution. It's got some really likable lead characters. With the first, I think it was the first on-screen kiss for Are You
Mm.
Afraid of the Dark? We said at the time, this isn't just one of the best so far. This could end up being one of the best, if not the best overall. To me, this is a no-brainer. It's the best.
Yeah, I mean that's where it has to go because I'm not sure what's going to top this ultimately. I think I remember saying if you wanted to show anyone an episode of I Fear the Dark to really show them how good it can be, this is just a perfect example because it just does everything it possibly can in terms of like its age rating and in terms of like the runtime. It's such a clever short story, and it obviously has Dr. Vink in it again, giving another quality performance
I did
whenever he
mention him,
turns up.
yeah.
Yeah, he always seems to deliver the quality, and he does again. And it's got so many good moments and aspects that it has to go in the best.
And just to add weight even more to it, it's also got a lovely ending that's got that suitably sinister and dark feel. It is the best, folks. Take our word for it. What is not the best is the Tale of Locker 22. This is based really more around a resolution to try and save someone's life. A girl ends up finding out her locker belonged to a girl who had previously died at the school in a science accident. When she uses that locker, she ends up time traveling back to that time. Seems to be about trying to save the girl, but it's actually a warning for now more than anything else. The resolution is, of course, a happy ending. It has some solid acting, I remember, from the science teacher. But this one, even now, bear in mind, folks, we are doing this tier list quite a while after some of these episodes were watched. This one I'm struggling to remember a lot of detail about. I can picture the school. I can kind of picture the outfits because the time she goes back to is hippie era, that kind of thing. But that's about it.
Yeah, I do remember enjoying the the time traveling aspect is interesting, and seeing the transformation of the school and stuff like that to like a sort of 70s style, it's quite interesting. But I really think they should have just called this the tale of negligence, because that's really ultimately what it's all about. I remember this the teacher's like super strict, and he forces her to do this science test, this tiny science
After,
examination at the
yeah,
school.
after school as well.
Yeah, and it's just like he like leaves the room when there's all these like chemicals and that kind of thing, and just it's very, very dodgy. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a dodgy tube from a Bunsen burner, so gas basically filling the room is the whole thing. Right, is this a meh or is this an okay? Because I don't think it's a good or the best,
No, I think so. It's kind of middle of the road, so I think it goes an okay for me.
but I would put it above the Tale of the Final Wish.
Me too.
Yeah, cool. Okay, that brings us to the Tale of the 13th Floor. Talking about negligence, here we basically get the big twist. This is one of those Goosebumps episode, folks, where you get a big twist at the end. Is that this alien girl got left on Earth, and basically her parents have come back, and because they don't want to scare her because she's been brought up to believe she's human, they basically pretend to be like a toy company on an upper floor, and then get her and her brother to come along and take part in these tests. I don't know, somehow try and remind her of who she was. This is all part of the reveal. The build is basically weird behavior in a quite a colorful and imaginative sort of set design. There are lots of elements I like about this, and the adults have to play the parts against the kids quite well. There's some stupidity ones, there's some threatening ones, and all of that. As far as imagination goes, this has a lot of it. And this is, for me, one of my more memorable Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes. But I don't think it's because of the story. I actually think it's because of the visuals and that ending twist, because that's such a Goosebumps ending.
Yeah, I do think like you highlighted, it deserves praise for its usage of props and effects and that kind of stuff. But I think I remember commenting on how I find the plot just overall quite convoluted. They go to such great extent to like try and spark the memories and stuff like that, and it just seems like there was a more simplistic route they could have taken than what they do. Um, yeah, you highlight again, where are the parents in this scenario? It does raise that question, obviously. But yeah, so it is memorable. So I guess that it does have that going for it.
I just want to throw in as well, we were very critical of the ending, which is after it's revealed that she's an alien, and her alien parents are like, oh, we have to leave because we can't survive on Earth for too long because of oxygen and certain thing they have to breathe. And I remember us being like, well, how on earth did she survive then? The girl herself.
Absolutely.
God, right. Well,
Uh,
is it good or is it okay? It's okay, isn't
it's
it?
it's okay. Yeah. Which
I
is
think top, I think top because of the visuals.
yeah, I'd place it there because of the visuals, yeah.
That brings us to the tale of the Dream Machine. I can sum this one up simply. Magic typewriter. Basically, that's what it is. It's a magic typewriter where story aspects come true. That in itself sounds crap, and it is crap. But what wins this blow and out makes this a little bit better is that we kind of get to see these stories play out in fun fashion, utilizing the cast who are game for it. So from the dance one to the graveyard one, there's some fun and silly behavior
Mm.
kind of going on here as well. The lead character, while not particularly iconic in any way, his choice of outfits with his tie and all of that he wears always stood out for me. There's a interesting dream sequence where he's kind of trying to write the relationship with the girl into, and it creates there's some good imagery in that regards, them talking in the cloud world and stuff like that. Uh, but I hate stories like this. We had one in
Yeah.
Goosebumps. I mean, Goosebumps one was worse, but this is not a good one either.
Nah, I just can't do with these storylines involving these things that can create anything basically, and then they use in the most mundane fashion, and they find these characters that they are like because he has like a crush on the girl, he wants to use it for that kind of purpose and that kind of thing, so he's not really focusing on using it for anything else, and it's also like it's just yeah, I'm just tired of this concept because it's just never used in the way that you would like want a character in that situation to use it, or you would use it, or anyone in their right mind would if they could make anything exist, kind of thing. So it's a bit frustrating in that regard. Or yeah, not for me.
You are consistent on that point, at least.
Always.
What are we doing, meh or the worst? I'm happy to put it in meh. I don't think it's the worst is a bit harsh.
Yeah, I mean that's be quite a stretch to put it in the worst. I think Mare is completely fine. Yeah.
All right, there we go. All right, the Tale of the Dark Dragon. Now we had this is one of our more debated episodes. I love this episode. You weren't as hot on it as I was. So its basic outline is a Jekyll and Hyde, a Jekyll and Hyde storyline, but it's based around an accident a particular child has, a youngster has, and how he wants to change himself because he basically has a bad leg to get the girl and stuff like that. But meanwhile, there's another girl who also likes him, and she ends up trying to use the same thing he uses to transform herself. Basically, the overarching story of this episode isn't horror based, it's about accepting who you are, seeing the inner beauty in all the elements like that. It is a phenomenal story, in my opinion. But it
Mm.
does make a few missteps in particular. Obviously, a major component of this is the fact that it has Sardo in it, but he really isn't used in a good way. There's a good visual involving a bunny rabbit and stuff like that and his reaction to it, but that's about where it ends. I really love the depth to this one, but I accept that it probably isn't really a great Are You Afraid of the Dark episode, slash something I would recommend to someone who, if I wanted to show off, I wouldn't necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, you that's that final statement you made there is exactly my thoughts on it. I think it is technically well executed. The acting is very strong, but again, I don't forgive it for wasting Sardo in his role in this episode. I think just inserting him kind of felt purposeless here. Could have done it without him, and yeah, I don't think it really does succeed as a great Eye of Fred the Dark episode, at least in my opinion, because it is kind of lacking in the horror elements and the kind of stuff you might expect. But yeah, it's a good like episode of television, like technically with the like drama aspects and whatnot. But yeah, it's lacking in many areas for me.
Okay, I can accept everything you're saying, and that's the thing. So we shouldn't have much of a debate about where this goes. Where are you leaning to go with this one?
I lean towards okay personally, but I
Right.
know that you may not feel
No,
that you
I
agree.
actually, no, I actually, I'm happy with it because I recognize the issues. Like after we discussed it so much in length, and I went in with such a positive vibe, it wasn't like you beat me down. But when you explain this is why this doesn't work, and I can look at it and go, yeah, you're right. Just because I like it a lot, just because I like what it's doing, I accept
Mm,
that that's a personal thing. And it's like, well, for balance, I'm saying myself, I wouldn't. People want me to give me. Oh, someone says to me, give me 10 Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes over its entire length. That give
mm,
me 10 that I can watch that will sum up the show. I'm not going to choose this one.
no, yeah, there you go. That says it
Okay, it
all.
is. But I think it should go right above the tail of Locker 22, but behind the
Mm.
tail of 13th floor. I think it's a good place for it.
Yeah, then it's a good place.
What is more traditional, Are You Afraid of the Dark, is the tale of the frozen ghost, which is a ghost story, a dead kid ghost story. Memorable for one reason only, which is the legend that is Melissa Joan Hart in this
Mm,
one, doing what Melissa Joan Hart does best. And it's about basically going to stay with a creepy pair of aunts who have a ghost outside. But really, it's actually a murder mystery, finding out how this kid died and then putting his soul to rest. Which is obviously a trope I know you hate, the good ghost thing. Um, but as a ghost story, it's perfectly fine. I don't think there's
mm.
anything offensive here, but I also don't think there's anything that good either.
Yeah, I mean it's a fine little short story, short ghost story, and it has some nice imagery. The imagery of the frozen ghost outside the window and stuff. I think that's memorable for people that have seen it. But it's just another one of those stories I take issue with, like you said, with the good ghost and how they could just be more clear about what they want instead of being like creepy and scaring the people, just telling them what you want. If you want to have your soul set free, just tell them exactly what needs to happen for that to happen. And also, again, the aunts and stuff, bringing. I just like when they know something weird's probably going on in the woods and stuff, and there's this whole plot about gold and stuff like that. It just kind of like gets a bit complicated near the end.
It does.
So, but I remember the acting being good, and yeah, like I said, it's nothing to really hate on particularly. It's just got a few tropes that I'm not a fan of. So that's just a personal problem.
It's another okay one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, how right? Better than the tale of the final wish?
Yes.
Yes. Better than the tale of Locker 22?
Yeah, I would say so.
All right, there it is. It's not going ahead of Dark Dragon because Dark Dragon's got a better story, but yeah, so it'll go there in the middle. Right, we've got a contender for one of the lowest ones. It is the Tale of the Whispering Walls, which is a group, two kids and a babysitter, end up going to a weird house where some dude who looks like a cross between a goth and an emo, My Chemical Romance style, apparently haunts this house plus the local tavern, but he might be his powers as an entity are never fully explained, but the wind is his enemy, which is insane as a story fucking plot point because the wind is literally everywhere. But he captures people and puts them in the walls, and then at the end they get rescued by a good ghost again. One of those things. It has one good scene in it, folks, which is when the kids initially return back to the saloon, the inn, to find a load of ghosts in there, kind of behaving quite riotously. That's a fun scene. But that one scene does not make a good episode. This one is crap because the setup is terrible. The story is unnecessarily convoluted. The resolution is dumb because the wind. But not only that as well, like even at the end, it's like all it does is get rid of him temporarily, and we've got a twist at the end where more people turn up. He isn't that good of an actor. He certainly isn't intimidating because I don't know what his abilities or powers are. I think this is a terrible one.
I really don't have anything I could possibly add onto that because you've just nailed every criticism there. So I think we
The
just get
worst.
straight into putting onto the tier list. And yeah, I think it has to go into the worst, doesn't it?
I think so. I think considering as well what else we've got here, it wouldn't be fair. Like, you can't put something at the tail of the Dream Machine and Mare and then put this alongside it. That's not fair.
No.
But it's all fun and games from here, folks, because we get the tale of the full moon. It's a werewolf story. And this, while isn't like a brilliant, clever story, it's basically kids next door think their neighbor is a werewolf, investigate it. Are they right? Are they wrong? Everything points to the signs that they are overreacting. And it's revealed, of course, that he has a twin brother who is actually a werewolf. And so on, which is a fun little take play on it. It actually kind of doesn't really do much in the way of exciting throughout it, but
Mm.
it does so in a sort of tongue-in-cheek way with some great sequences, such as the sequence around the dinner table. Because, of course, his mother ends up dating the werewolf, suspected werewolf as well. So there's a great scene around the dinner table with some funny stuff. And it has a gleefully fun ending that kind of puts a really happy
Mm.
but like dark touch on everything too. I think this one is what we call a fun Are You Afraid of Dark episode.
Yeah, I feel like a bit. I feel quite bad because even though you were describing it there, this is probably the first episode that we've come to that I was genuinely quite struggling to even remember it, even based on that. But it's unfair on my part because actually, now I really think about it, some of the scenes you described are it is actually like quite a solid episode. Like I said, it's
Yeah.
got that sort of horror comedy vibe thing going on. It kind of I remember highlighting that it had sort of similarities to maybe like the Lost Boys and Fright Night, kind of like had that kind of
Bright
stuff
Night,
going on.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I remember having that fun ending that kind of like felt quite goosebumpish, which was cool. So yeah, I think this is quite a solid episode on the whole.
I think this goes in good. We've got nothing in good. I think this is a good episode.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Okay, folks, if you watched our talk through and review of this next one, you already know this is likely to go in the best. This is the tale of the shiny red bicycle, a ghost story. A ghost story in a very traditional way, but one that did a fantastic job of marrying the creep factor of ghosts, of a ghost haunting a person with a real life trauma. Instead of separating the two and then unbalancing them, this one worked really hard to balance them perfectly. We're telling a coherent story about righting the wrongs, forgiving past, not sins, but past mistakes, forgiveness for like things that are out of your control, all these brilliant elements, but still wrapped up in elements of creep, particularly of how the ghost looks and how it sometimes is done. Like I think of like in the school, the nurse's office, when
Mm.
like turns around and it's the ghost there. These were good scare moments. We were very, very praise happy about this. I thought this was fabulous.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always highlighting moments that I think are like certain pieces of imagery in these episodes that I think are like really memorable, or maybe people like grew up watching it as something that stuck with them. And I do think the image of the boy with the bicycle is like probably up there. It's got to be, it might be the top
But
image that most people think, and it's burned into their psyche definitely. So just such a it's such a serious theme, and it handles it all really quite well. And there's some really great tension at the end and everything. and when he's trying to race to get there to save his
His
brother and stuff
brother.
like that. And it's got sort of like a we remember we highlighted that it kind of felt sort of like it kind of like had that kind of vibe going on.
Yep.
So yeah, there's just I I can't say more good things about it. Basically, I think this is a really great short like episode of Life After the Dark. You know, just the stuff they manages to cram in is just it's really impressive.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of the hardest ones to top come the end of all the episodes. It's going to take something really special. For me, this goes above the Tale of the Midnight Madness, but just because it gets the balance right.
Oh, that is definitely tough
Ooh.
one. It is tough. That's tough, but I don't know.
I
I
mean,
would say I probably
they're both going to go through. So let's just put it there and
okay.
afterwards. It can
Yeah, we'll
go
come
after
to
because
it.
they're both going to go through.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, what isn't going to go through though? Because meh episode. It's the Tale of the Magician's Assistant. Hey, it's a magic one. Get in the bin, Gary, and your terrible stories. All right, this isn't, to be fair, the worst of his bunch. Because at least there's some good acting, there's some good visuals, and I like the initial idea of like a kid becoming a magician's assistant, trying to earn some money, but learning that actually magic is real, getting hold of his wand, trying to use it to help his mother, but it backfiring to unleash some demon thing. There's some cool references to like Evil Dead and a couple of other stuff like that. That's kind of fun.
Mm.
But that's about it. That's about it. I don't care for the magic episodes. For me, this is meh because it's just, oh, it's another magic one.
Yeah, it's funny because I think this was another episode that we had a bit of divisive opposite opinions on a little bit. I think I enjoyed this a little bit more than you did
Yeah.
because I found the sort of dynamic between the magician Shandu and the boy like quite I quite enjoyed it, and
Mm.
the scenes of them like going and performing at children's parties and stuff like that, and the whole concept behind like that aging magician who's like time has passed and he does like classic old timey magic. I quite like those parts, and I was a big fan also of the ending where he just kind of like ups and leaves like at the very end, like he just like gets out of there and leaves his wand. There was so, you know, some parts of the plot that you could dissect and didn't make too much sense, but like you said, there was cool moments like the sort of Evil Deadish scene. So I actually quite like this one. So I might have to argue with you on this one, where to place it.
Where would you place it?
I would honestly, at a push, I could see it going into good. I could,
All right. Well, I'm saying meh. So this has to sit. So the compromise is it goes in okay then, because if there's one in between both our choices, so it goes in okay, right?
sure.
We can't go that high. Like,
I'm
wait,
trying to
do you
fight.
like it more than the Tale of the 13th Floor?
Uh, do I think I do, just because the Tale of the 13th Floor is just
Sake.
a bit of a mess. It's just like kind of a bit of a mess plot wise, and like yeah, this had like a better story. I thought at least I would say.
Fine. Fine. I'll accept the fact that the 13th Floor is a bit of a mess, and that's why.
Yeah.
Fine, I can go top of it. Doesn't really
Wait.
matter. It's not going through anyway.
Shandu,
Two left.
Shandu.
Two left. The Tale of the Hatching. It's a kind of a classic Goosebumps style one. It's perfect. Think perfect school, but more on a a lesser, smaller scale, where basically two kids go through a boarding school and discover odd things happening there. It appears that every night the kids are under control and they have to go to a basement and look after some eggs. And it turns out that's because the principals, the people that run the school, are lizards, the last of their kind, and they're basically trying to make sure their kind survives and feeds on kids. There's also a giant one in their basement. This is a fine and solid monster horror. Basically, the problem is it does not have enough time to really tell a substantial story. So it ends up feeling a bit meh past some visual things. There's a nice goopy ending that's fun, but it's also one that gives me stronger goosebump vibes than a lot of the episodes in this season.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, you draw immediate comparisons to the Goosebumps episode, The Perfect School, and the
Yep,
reason why that episode managed to achieve what it did, which was being quite a great episode, was because it was stretched across two parts, which is something they don't ever do in Eye for the Dark, which I think is is a shame because a lot of these episodes would really benefit from it, and this is one of those that I really would have if it
yep.
had that second part to really like stretch it out a little bit because there's definitely something there, and it has some cool body horror in it, which is quite nice to see. Like it's a very Goosebumps esque, and yeah, it just like certain parts of the plot didn't make much sense when we like dissected it. They have to eat that sponge, there's food, and it's like no,
Yeah.
the like lizard people in charge are not really making sure that they're definitely eating it and stuff like that. It just kind of made no sense. So yeah, it was a bit lacking
Meh.
on the whole. Yeah, meh.
Top of meh though. But it's better. I liked it more than the Dream Machine because at least you've got those kind of goosebump style.
Yeah,
And I think this last one is a contender for Meh as well, because it is the tale of Old Man Corcoran, where basically it's another ghost story. Now, I'd forgotten, and looking at it now, my God, season two had a lot of ghost story or ghosts in
mm,
it, and this is another one. Except this one kind of has we're doing Goosebump comparison, a little bit of Welcome to the Dead House sort of vibes in the sense that, or Ghost Beach, was it Ghost Beach might be a better one. But
yeah,
basically, they've been dead all along. Group of kids. They arrive at a neighborhood, meet other group of kids. Let's go play hide and seek inside a graveyard, which is supposed to be haunted by old man Kokuran, who has a what do you call it? The thing harmonica,
okay.
harmonica.
Yeah.
But it turns out, of course, that he's not actually the ghost. He's just the caretaker. The kids are the ghosts. Dun, dun, dun. And don't get me wrong, it's got some classic haunted like movie style stuff and all that. But man, there's nothing. There's nothing here.
Again, I feel like this was one where we were like a little bit differing on opinion because I think the episode I remember saying that on the whole is not like great, but I do think the twist is really stands out for me. I think
How they
it
reveal it is good.
yeah, like I remember saying how like for us it was quite easy to maybe like figure it out, but from like a young person's perspective, I remember seeing the episode and not figuring it out the way we would obviously do with being older and stuff like that. But and obviously, when I was watching it back, I already knew the twist. But I still think that like it lit us in like little clues here and there, and I think that the twist is like genuinely quite impactful. I think so. I enjoyed it for at least for the twist.
So what are we putting this one then? Good. I mean, we could go on good because you've got. I think you're right about the twist. I think the twist might just win it out. Let's put it in good after the telephone moon because it's not going through anyway.
Okay,
Indeed, in fact, there's only two going through from this season. Although I think it might have only been two or three in the previous season. I mean, think about it. There's only 13 episodes. It really should only be one or two that go through. But they are two of the strongest. It is the Tale of the Midnight Madness and the Tale of the Shiny Red Bicycle. Top those two come the end. That's going to be interesting.
be tough to beat.
That is our tier list ranking of season two of Are You Afraid of the Dark? You know how this goes. Let us know what you think in the comments and make sure you check out the episodes of season three going forward. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website where reviews, news and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at GBHBL. Just search for GBHBL and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.